If you're working hard, but your goat herd isn't really moving forward, this episode is for you. Today we're breaking down 5 quiet management mistakes that slowly erode profitability. From breeding too early to feeding without running the numbers, these aren't dramatic failures. They're small decisions that compound over time. Let's tighten up the system and build a herd that actually performs. Hey friends, welcome to the Get Goatwise podcast. Are you longing to raise goats and other animals for food but don't know where to start? Do you want to be more self-sufficient and less dependent on the grocery store? Do you wish you had a mentor to walk you through raising livestock? Hi, I'm Millie, animal scientist, cattle girl turned goat rancher, co-owner of Dry Creek Livestock, and simple living enthusiast. For 15 years, I've been on a mission to raise all of our own meat, eggs, and dairy. Here, we'll talk about raising goats and other homestead livestock, how to create sustainable animal management systems that actually work, and a bit of off-grid life with kids and livestock. If you're ready to take control of your food supply, raise livestock with confidence, and provide your family with the most nourishing meat, eggs, and dairy available, you're in the right place. Kick off your muck boots, pour a cup of coffee, and let's talk livestock. Before we jump in, I just want to say thank you. This podcast continues to grow because you're listening, sharing episodes, and leaving reviews. I don't take that lightly. I'm grateful this message is reaching families and producers who care about raising livestock well. This show exists to give goat owners practical, grounded information. The kind that protects animals, strengthens herds, and keeps people from burning out. Reviews are one of the biggest ways that message reaches the right people. If this podcast has helped you think more clearly about your herd, I'd appreciate you taking a minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Just scroll down to Ratings and Reviews and tap Write a Review. And as a thank you, I've put together a free kidding due date chart at getgoatwise.com/kidding-chart. Leave a review, grab the chart, and know you're helping someone else build a stronger herd with a little more clarity and intention. Here's what's been happening on the ranch this week. We got more snow, wind, and drifts, and we're back in the cold temperatures. The ice on the troughs is a little thicker, but we're thankful for a break from the mud. Last week, I noticed some of the goats are already shedding their cashmere, about a month earlier than normal. I assume that's because of the warm temperatures we've had. Now that we're dropping below zero again, we're watching closely to make sure they handle the temperature swing well. Big weather shifts can stress livestock. So far, they've handled it fine. The good news is we're nearing the end of February. We're gaining daylight. The sun is rising higher, and when it's clear, even single digits feel decent. All right, let's get into today's topic. Today we're talking about something that doesn't get discussed enough. The small management decisions that slowly erode profitability in a goat herd. These aren't dramatic mistakes. They're quiet ones. And over time, they cost you in feed, replacement rates, longevity, and market consistency. Here's the simple version. If your herd isn't moving forward, one of these 5 things is probably happening. Mistake number 1, breeding does too early. There's a lot of pressure to breed doelings as yearlings. And yes, biologically, they can. But the better question is, should they? From a livestock perspective, maturity matters more than age. A good benchmark is breed does when they reach 60 to 70% of their expected mature body weight. To hit that weight early, you'll almost have to feed supplemental grain. If you plan to breed early, then feed accordingly and get them to the right size. But if you're running a forage-based system like we are, it's difficult to hit that weight without pushing growth. And here's where genetics matter. Our selection priorities are productivity, hardiness, mothering ability, teat structure, low maintenance feet, and adequate muscling. That selection has resulted in a slower growing goat compared to livestock bred specifically for rapid gain. But that slower growth appears to trade off for longevity. Our goats still start cycling at 5 to 6 months old. They could be bred then. But after years of breeding for does to kid as yearlings, we looked at the numbers and realized it wasn't worth it for our system. We saw more dystocia, more mothering problems, higher kid death loss, and a higher cull rate. When we delayed breeding, most of those issues nearly disappeared. That told us something. Early breeding was expensive in a forage-based system. So we changed it. Development first, production second. And here's what matters. Early breeding can reduce longevity. It increases replacement requirements, it increases labor, and replacement does are expensive. Longevity is profit. Mistake number 2, not tracking does exposed to breeding. Most people measure success by how many kids hit the ground, but that's incomplete. You need to track does exposed to breeding. That means every doe that went in with the buck counts, whether she settled or not. Why? Because fertility is a herd metric. If you only count does that kidded, you hide fertility problems. We regularly track number of does exposed to breeding, percentage of the does that were first-timers, singles, twins, triplets, was assistance required, and mothering ability. That gives you a real production picture. If conception rate is slipping, you'll see it. If first-time does are dragging down kid crop, you'll see it. If something is off, you'll know. If you don't measure it, you can't improve it. Profitability starts with honest numbers. Mistake number 3, feeding without running the numbers. Feed is your biggest expense, and most people guess. Expected intake is 3 to 4% of body weight in dry matter. If your does average 120 pounds, 4% equals 4.8 pounds of dry matter. If your hay is 88% dry matter, that's about 5.45 pounds as fed hay per day. When we ran our numbers, we were feeding about 5.2 pounds per head per day, right in the range. But here's what gets missed. Protein is the most expensive nutrient you feed. If your hay tests high in protein and your goats are dry or in early pregnancy, you may be overfeeding and overspending. And here's another trap. Once we buy the hay, we mentally mark it as spent. But that doesn't mean you should feed it all. If goats are holding condition on less, adjust how much you're feeding. And don't let does head into breeding season fat. Overconditioned does breed up poorly. From a livestock perspective, feeding is about phase of production, body condition, cost per pound of gain, and waste. Observation is critical, then make adjustments. If you're not calculating intake at least seasonally and evaluating condition regularly, you're probably leaking money. Mistake number 4, keeping goats for emotion, not performance. This one is hard, especially small scale. When we select replacement does, our criteria tighten every year. We look at, was the kid born a multiple? Does it have a 1x1 ideal teat structure? How about mothering ability, parasite resistance, growth rate, structural soundness, and hoof maintenance needs? As your herd matures, your standards should rise. If you keep does with poor mothering, chronic parasite problems, weak growth, or structural faults, you multiply those problems. Selection drives your herd direction. And here's the honest part, we all have favorites. They have names, not just numbers. Some get second chances when they probably shouldn't. I'm not saying that's always wrong, but it is expensive. Just acknowledge how much of that cost you're willing to absorb. Sentiment is fine, but unmanaged sentiment will stall progress. Mistake number 5, no clear production goal. This one ties everything together. Are you raising meat goats for direct market? Selling at the sale barn? Producing show goats? Running dairy goats? Or trying to do it all? Each path requires different replacement rates, breeding timing, growth expectations, and nutrition strategies. If your goal is unclear, your selection will be inconsistent, and inconsistent selection destroys progress. We hit a hard decision point when we realized our show herd and commercial meat herd could no longer coexist profitably. Originally, we bred first-time show does to a Spanish buck and pushed those kids into the commercial herd. Some performed, some didn't. But the results were inconsistent, and the gap widened over time. That strategy stopped serving our commercial goats. So we made a decision. We sold the show goats. We focused on commercial meat production. Clarity forced the hard choice. But clarity drives focus. Focus drives the improvement, and improvement drives your profit. Here's the recap. 5 mistakes that quietly kill goat herd profitability. 1. Breeding too early. 2. Not tracking does exposed to breeding. 3. Feeding without running numbers. 4. Keeping goats for emotion. And 5. No clear production goal. None of these destroy a herd overnight. They just slowly chip away at momentum. From a stewardship perspective, our job is to manage intentionally, observe, and adjust. That's how you build a resilient herd. If today's episode made you think about something in your own system, that's the goal. We're not chasing perfection, we're building herds wisely. If you want to continue the conversation, head over to getgoatwise.com/community and join us over there. See you next week. Hey there, thanks for listening today. I'm so glad you're here. If this episode helped you or encouraged you in some way, share the link with your homesteading friends. And if you really want to help me out, click on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a review. You can connect with me on Instagram or email linked in the show notes, and meet me back here soon for more Get Goat Wise.